Okay, we are live now. Hello, friends. We have here today with us Professor Bodhisattva Chattopadhyay and our director friend Arunava Gangopadhyay with Kalpabiswa editor Shantu Bag. Today in this session, we'll discuss about the documentary on Bengali science fiction, Kalpavigyan, the speculative journey. Before that, let me introduce you to our guests. Bodhisattva Chattopadhyay is an associate professor in global cultural studies at the University of Oslo, Norway. He leads the international research group Co-Futures. Chattopadhyay is the leader, principal investigator of two major research projects funded by European and Norwegian Research Council, which explore contemporary global futurism movement from a transmedial perspective, including literature, film, visual art, and games. Chattopadhyay runs the Holodeck, a state-of-the-art games research lab at EYO. He is also an Imaginary College Fellow at the Center of Science and Imagination, Arizona State University. He is founding co-editor with Tarania Taylor of the book series Studies in Global Genre Fiction. His latest work is the forthcoming Routledge Handbook of Co-Futurism, co-edited with Grace Dillon, Ishia Lavender III, and Taryn Taylor. A 375,000 work collection featuring a stunning range of work from around the world on contemporary futurism, including indigenous futurism, Afro and African futurism, Latinx and Latin Other than his research and artistic research grants, he is also the recipient of numerous awards and prizes, and he is the first Indian to win the World Fantasy Award 2020. His research website is https://cofutures.org. I will put that link in the So welcome Bodhisattva, and another for us it's a great pleasure because he is from the beginning with us in Kalpabiswa, and he helped us a lot for different projects, and he worked a lot about Bengali science fiction and Kalpavigyan, and he is also the producer of this documentary. So we are all very grateful to him because for this opportunity, and for he came with in this interview session. So, and next
Pleasure being here.
I will introduce
Thank you.
Arunava. Arunava is an Indian filmmaker and scriptwriter by profession. His most recent co-written and co-directed feature film is Hoyto Manush Noy, Perhaps Not Human, released in 2018. And Kalpavigyan, a speculative journey, is his current venture. So welcome Arunava also. Arunava is also one of our close friends. So with that, we can start that this session. But before that, I will ask Shantu to play the trailer for this documentary so that all of us can watch it with our viewers. Shantu, please.
Yeah, 1 second. Let me
Yeah.
share my screen. So, is it possible to see my screen?
Yeah, I'm adding it here.
Okay. So, I'm running the video now.
Hmm.
কল্পবিজ্ঞান হলো রূপান্তরের সাহিত্য। বাংলায় যে কল্পবিজ্ঞান লেখা হয় সেটা কল্পবিজ্ঞানের থেকে বিজ্ঞান ভিত্তিক বেশি লেখা হয়। আমাদের জোরটা বিজ্ঞানের উপর বেশি থাকে, কল্পনার দিকে কত কম থাকে। এই ধরনের গল্পের মধ্যে অন্যতম হলো জগদানন্দ রায়ের শুভ্র ভ্রমণ গল্পটি। পলাতক তুফানকে আমি উল্লেখযোগ্য বিজ্ঞান কাহিনী বলতে পারি না, কারণ ওটা যাতে ঠাট্টা করে লেখা হয়েছিল। তিনি একটা বহুমাত্রিক সমাজের অংশ এবং তার মধ্যে তিনি একটা খুব বলিষ্ঠ মুসলিম নারীবাদী গণা, এই দুটোই সত্যি তার সঙ্গে। এর
পরের কিছু বছর পরে লেখেন অনবসক মানুষ, সেটা বাংলা কল্পবিজ্ঞানের শুরুর দিকে সব থেকে চমৎকার উপন্যাস।
মজাটা করছে প্রেমেন্দ্র মিত্র যে কাঠামোর মধ্যে গল্পটা বলেছেন সেগুলো কিন্তু কল্পবিজ্ঞানের সাথে সেটা খুব একটা মিল নেই যে একজন বসে বসে গল্প বলছেন, সেটা খুব পুরোনো কাঠামো।
যদি না হতো তাহলে সত্যজিতের লেখক হতেন না, এই হচ্ছে সোজা হিসেব। এবং সেটা খুব একটা ভীষণ একটা বিচ্ছিরি ব্যাপার হতো।
উনি মনে করতেন যে এই তন্ত্র মন্ত্র, এই বেদে পুরাণে যা আছে এগুলো সঠিক অর্থে অবৈজ্ঞানিক নয়।
বিচ্ছিন্ন এই কাজগুলো হঠাৎ করে একজন অতিবর্তন এসে সব যেন একত্রিত করে একটা ছাতা তোলা এনে দাঁড় করালেন।
ও শুধুমাত্র এই ম্যাডনেস থেকেই বোধহয় এরকম পত্রিকা করা যায়। উনি একা স্কুটারে বম্বে দিল্লিও পাড়ি দিয়েছেন ওই পত্রিকার কাজে।
তারই সঙ্গে সঙ্গে মনে পড়ে তার ঠিক 2 বছর পরে 1965 26শে জানুয়ারি প্রতিষ্ঠিত হলো সায়েন্স ফিকশন সিনে ক্লাব।
বিষয় আমাদের অ্যাকচুয়ালি হবে একটা ভালোবাসার ফসল বা খাটিয়ার ফসলও বলা যায়।
এই হাতি এবং কচ্ছপের পৃথিবীকে তুলে রাখার এটা আমরা অনেকটাই ভারতীয় পুরাণে আমরা পাই। এবং ওই উপসালার সেই ওয়ার্কশপ বা কনফারেন্সে সিদ্ধার্থ ঘোষ প্রথমে টেরি প্যাচেটকে এই কল্পনার কথা বলেন।
অর্থাৎ কতগুলো আইডিয়া, কতগুলো ফিলোসফিক্যাল আইডিয়া, সেগুলো নিয়ে কল্পবিজ্ঞানকে এক্সকিউজ করে সেটা নিয়ে ভাবতে চিন্তা করেন। শিক্ষার সাথে সাথে বিজ্ঞানের সম্বন্ধে আগ্রহ বাড়ে এবং সেই পর্যায়টা আমরা দেখবো আগামী আরো 10 বছরে আরো বেশি করে, কারণ বিজ্ঞান আমাদের সবাইকে প্রভাবিত করবে বিভিন্ন ভাবে।
তোমরা কল্পবিজ্ঞানকে ছড়িয়ে দেবে, এটাকে নিছক ফ্যান্টাসি পর্যায়ে রাখবে না। ফ্যান্টাসি অনেক লেখা হয়েছে, কিন্তু কল্পবিজ্ঞান সমাজের অনেক উন্নতি করেছে, করছে, করবে।
Yeah, I think this is the end.
So that's such a wonderful intro, and we are all dying here to watch the film. And Arunava knows that I got lots of message every day that when we can get to see the film, and every time we get only that is going to be shown somewhere in Amsterdam or in Australia, and I get more messages, angry message now. Not only normal message. Now I am starting getting angry messages. I think Arunava has the same experience. So anyway, we'll go to that later on. Shantu, let's start with our interview. So I will go to Bodhisattva first, and the first question is definitely, when did you plan to make such an documentary on Kalpavigyan, and why in Kalpavigyan? Because you worked with so many other kind of indigenous science fiction or some other genre of science fiction, subgenre of science fiction. Why did you take Kalpavigyan? And because you know very well that in Bengali there is no such serious research going on in Kalpavigyan. That not many research is going on. So why you take such a topic?
Thank you for that. I think there is quite a bit of serious research going on within this StreamYard. I mean, I have Shantu here who has been meticulously doing a lot of research in Kalpabigyan, collecting, archiving, all of that. Kalpabiswa has been doing so much of this kind of research, but my own work has actually been on Kalpabigyan. I wrote my PhD thesis on this back in time, and Ronin Babu, who's also Ronin Ghosh, who's also featured in the trailer. We all miss him, but he was also like one of the people who kind of shared a lot of material with me back when I was doing my PhD. So I don't think the idea of the documentary came naturally to me. It's not quite how academics generally operate. We operate in writing books, articles, research papers. That's kind of how we operate. So when when we first, so this is for the audience who don't know the story, I guess, because it's kind of almost repeating it. So this is almost a fortuitous set of circumstances that led to it. I had been thinking of different ways of talking about Kalpavigyan and spreading Kalpavigyan generally, because my own work was on colonial era Kalpavigyan, not the later phase. So I stopped my work in 1960. So that was kind of, so pre 1960 is what I actually worked on. So for me, it was interesting to kind of like explore what happens post 1960, right? Which is the kind of work, a lot of this kind of work that Kalpabiswa is doing right now. So that was kind of my research area. There are also, of course, some other research in Kalpavigyan that's going on. There are several others who have worked on this, but almost everybody works on the post 60s era. So this was kind of one of the things for me, that I had this background in in looking at what was happening in the colonial era, but I didn't have that much of an idea of what was happening post 60s. So some way to kind of bridge the two and make that happen. So when Kalpabiswa actually like put me in touch with Arunava, who was at that point of time, and Arunava will tell us more about it, I guess, that Arunava was planning to make something on Adrish Bardhan specifically, and so was Kalpabiswa, that making some kind of a documentary on Adrish Bardhan. So it was then that I kind of like said, well, why make a documentary on just Adrish Bardhan? Why not make a documentary on Kalpavigyan as such? Because then we can tell a much richer history of this. So it was really a very good set of circumstances that we all came together and we were able to do this. But over to Arunabha, he might have more things to add.
So next
Arunava,
question
can
to
you,
all is, how did you got involved in the project, and what was your initial expectations from the documentary?
Ami?
Yes.
yes.
To Arunabha.
Okay. So I got into this project. I had to start some times back. So actually, the idea came into my mind from the issue that you have published. Kalpabiswa has published on Adrish Bardhan, the full issue. I think that there are plenty of materials to make the documentary on Adrish Babu. So as Bodhi said, but after that, I and Deep, you might remember that I and you went to Adrish Babu's place, and we are so disheartened to see him in that fragile and decaying state of health. And then and there, we dropped the idea because we thought that it will be very inhuman to let him go through the whole shooting process, because we all know how tedious and tiring a shooting process is. So then and then we dropped the idea, and one fine morning you have called me up and said about Bodhi, and then it happened. It's actually just happened. But the idea Shontu asked, it came from that very issue of Kalpabiswa. I could only say that.
So
Okay,
what
so
was your initial expectations from the documentary? Means what you could have captured?
Expectation, about expectation, I could say that actually I don't have any expectation. I just wanted to see the audience. I just wanted the audience to see the film and rise. I have a motto actually, not I have a motto, we have a motto actually, that this film should raise a question or rather a discourse. So I just had this expectation that film, discourse should raised from this film after the audience see it, because as the main tune of the film actually has been tied up by Adrish Babu. He said that you spread কল্পবিজ্ঞান, তোমরা কল্পবিজ্ঞানকে ছড়িয়ে দাও, কল্পবিজ্ঞান সমাজের অনেক উন্নতি করেছে এই করবে এবং করছে। But what kind of development কল্পবিজ্ঞান did to society, if we ask anybody, if you ask me, that I could only say that কল্পবিজ্ঞান can raise a discourse about present situation or the future. So I think I just expect this discourse should arise from this film. That's it. Otherwise, I don't have any expectation from the audience that if they like it or not, and not kind of expectation I have, but accept this discourse.
Okay, I will get back to Bodhi. Bodhi, the documentary captures the Bengali science fiction started from almost 1895 to 2020, or 2019 maybe, because I think you have wrapped up within that period. So how did you you and Arunava prepared to capture this whole span of century within one hour or so documentary? How did you prepare for that?
Oh, that is just directorial magic. I mean, my my contribution to it was by and large in terms of like pure research, because I already had the materials from my own doctoral work and all the articles and stuff that I had published, and also the fantastic work that I said is the kind of research that's happening on Kalpavigyan, for instance, with people like Anisha Maiti, for instance, or others have worked on this. Bonita Bagchi, who's also featured in the film, she has done fantastic work on Begum Rokia. Abhijit Gupta, Professor Abhijit Gupta at Jadavpur. So there's a lot of people who have actually done some work. So there was already existing research out there that we could pick up. And then, of course, the kind of archive that Kalpabiswa has built was also very important for us, because that's that kind of brought together or helped us tie together some of the narratives of the post-60s. So that is in a way how it came together. But in terms of like the telling of the story, as I said, it's directorial magic. We were also one of the things that Arunava and I had really long discussions on was actually the length of the film. So, like, would people be interested in watching an 82 minutes documentary, right, on Bangla science fiction? And it's Bangla science fiction is known to all of us. We are fans, so we love Bangla science fiction, so we'll watch it even if it's 3 hours long, right? But if you're going to send this to other people, to film festivals and to audiences globally, then who are the kinds of audiences who would be interested in watching an 82 minutes on Bangla SF, right? So length was actually like absolutely a critical point of discussion for both of us. And I think the success of the film so far, as you mentioned, it's been going to all these film festivals, so it's been shown everywhere from Brazil to China. We'll come to Kolkata in a bit, but the idea was that the fact that it has reached so many audiences and it has won several awards already shows that the length actually worked, not because of anything else, but the fact that the story itself is so interesting. So we had to really weave together a good story, and Arunava really did a fantastic job. So Arunava will probably have a lot more to say on this than I. Yeah.
Arunava, please tell us about the script and your direction and your experience, how you actually put all those works in Bengali science fiction within such a short amount of time.
The but I could say that there is no script actually.
Okay.
We shot the film without any script because I have written a script, a draft, and when we went to the shooting at the Kalpabiswa seminar in Jadavpur University, after the first day, I understood that the script will do no good to our work. So I came home, dropped the script in a drawer, and started shooting randomly. So actually, the script is written after the shooting gets complete. I watched the rush after rush and maintained a create. The storyline I discussed with Bodhi. Bodhi gave his inputs to it, and after that a storyline has been created, and we got to know that how the film would taking a shape. So the complete picture we get after the shooting has completed. Otherwise, before the shooting, completion of the shooting, there is no idea. I at least didn't have any idea how the film will end up with. So this is how happened the shooting process, the making process rather. They happened like this.
And I want to quickly jump in here, to add a bit to what Arunava was saying. This in one important sense, this is a research documentary, right? So we were discovering things as we went along. So we did have like a basic questionnaire prepared. So we had questionnaires prepared for each of the people that we would speak to, at least the critics. Some of it was completely unscripted, but a lot of it was like scripted. So Ornavo had a set of questions. I made a set of questions. We discussed that. But the whole idea of it being a research documentary meant that we almost, even though we had answers, we didn't always have, we didn't necessarily have a way of stitching it all together until pretty much everything was done. And so we are left with 82 minutes of a documentary and maybe 30 hours or something of footage. And all of that is actually great archival material, right? Because we have so many responses, we have so much research, we have so many questions, but it had to be streamlined into just an 82-minute story that we want to tell.
We have 600 GB of footage.
Yeah. There we go.
Wow.
Almost 600 GB. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great. I hope that footage will be in your safe hand. Don't destroy it. Even if you think about destroying it, give it to us before that.
No, the footage should very much be with Kalpabiswa. That's my feeling anyway, because of all the archival work that is being done by Kalpabiswa. But yeah.
Okay, Shantu.
Yeah. So actually, my question to Arunava is, we have this conference in Jadavpur, right, in 2018. So all the most of the authors are present there. So how that actually how that affects your schedule, all those things, like shooting experience at conference. Because we remember we had to ask for different permissions, all those things, right, in the conference.
No, that thing goes actually went actually well. We didn't face any problem with that, but yeah, the shooting at the JU at the conference went actually well and very I actually enjoyed because the whole thing happened over there. It was so informative and so enriching. That's why I actually enjoyed. Apart from these, all these hazards, we saw everybody had to face in any shooting. So that was not at all a problem.
Okay. Yeah, you got actually a lot of science fiction writers in one place. So
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
like lucky for the film, for the shooting.
Yeah,
Sorry, I
without
didn't get you.
that conference, you had to, I mean, you had to connect to so many different people and you had to go to so many different places.
Huh.
That conference was
Yeah.
a perfect place to start shooting, actually, I think.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. So we got many of them at a place we gathered at a time. So it was nice. The shooting at the conference is actually very nice for me. And I first met with Ronin Ghosh at the very conference. So it was so nice, and so nice of him when we went to his house. He was uh, so warm and so what could I say? So he was so interested about this film. He asked us to show him and even invite him at if there is any premiere. So, and I actually felt very bad for him, actually, very bad that he is no more with us and we couldn't show the film to him.
Actually, in that seminar, we had three of them. I mean, Adishbardhan was not there. He was,
Not there,
we
yeah.
sent memento and everything to his house.
Hmm.
But in spirit, he was there, and Ronin Ghosh was there, and Inaki Chattopadhyay was there.
Was there.
Unfortunately, yeah, they all passed
Nobody
away.
is, yeah.
So it's very unfortunate because they would be very, very, very happy to see this documentary. They are the inspiration that we do science fiction or Kalpavigyan because of them. Anyway, Bodhi, do you have any? Do you remember any special experience during that shootings in Jadavpur or itself? Do you have any special
I
experience?
Yeah, that was that was the last time I met Ravin Babu, and as Arunava mentioned that it was yeah, he was an incredibly generous man, and even though he was one could tell that he was quite unwell, he was his usual goodest self, as he used to say. So that has become a very special memory in that sense, that yeah, and a real pity that he couldn't see the film. But yeah, overall, I think the conference was, I think, one of the first proper workshops events that we had on science fiction in pretty much forever in India. So that itself was really, really special. To you know this happened in 2018, and 2020 and 2021, 3 books on Indian SF have been published, 3 whole books. 1, 2, 3, actually 4 books have been published um, in English, and one, two edited collections, or 3 edited collections have come out in the last couple of years. So there's a tremendous kind of energy right now in the field of science fiction, and I think
Right.
what that conference did, was to bring a lot of that kind of energy into like one space. because a lot of the presenters were actually really, really young. I moderated a session, I remember, and gave a lecture, but the presenters, a lot of them were really young. So it wasn't just the older writers. It was actually a lot of young people, a lot of youthful energy in there. And that's the kind of energy that you need in order to keep a
Right.
field going. Right. So it can't just be old people. So it has to have a youthful energy. So I think the conference was special because of that reason as well.
Yeah. I want to add that I remember that yes, Ranbabu was very unwell that time, and
Yeah.
after that conference, before even we ended the conference, he started bleeding from his nose profusely, and we are very concerned about that. But like he was very happy. He was so happy that
Yeah.
we are doing the job that he dreamed of, and we are actually remembering them, all of them. We are taking all of them, bringing all of them together, and showing everyone that they have started it. So it impacted him very much. Not only him, like Inaki Chattopadhyay. I even uh, we took Inaki Chattopadhyay to her home, and I remember that she actually stumbled and hurt her head. She was also bleeding. But those guys, they're at their 80s, and they are so happy that they didn't really care that that was the magic of science fiction. Maybe that was something Adhish Badhan used to say, that madness. They had that madness. I guess maybe we also had that madness in a sense. But anyway. Uh, Another thing I want to ask Arunava. Arunava, you shoot during the Calcutta Book Fair. I think that would
Yeah.
be also a great experience for you to shoot a documentary during Calcutta Book Fair, because it was very difficult situation. I know in the Calcutta at that time. So, do you have any special experience, or you want to share with us?
No, actually, book fair is always special, but shooting at book fair was not so very special because I shoot just what could I say, a filler shot over there with J.K. Chattopadhyay, Bodhisattva's father, and Kaku and Kakima, because they were acting in they have acted in this film. So I shoot just a filler shot that some science fiction enthusiast went to book fair and strolling over there and finding some books. Same thing I have shoot in College Street also. So book fair
Also
remains
a great
special for me, but the
experience
shooting
for
was
you to
not so
shoot a
very. Yeah.
documentary during Calcutta Book Fair. Sorry about. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, you go on. Arunava, actually, my Facebook was
No,
started that interview itself.
no, actually, this is it. Nothing much to say about the shooting in book fair, but yeah, I enjoyed and it I enjoyed it. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, do
Any
you have
shooting
any?
experience with
Yeah.
Sandeep Rai?
Sorry.
Your shooting experience with Adrish Bardhan, Ronen Ghosh, and Sandeep Rai.
Actually, wonderful. In a word, first I want to say about Adrish Babu. He was so fragile and ailing at that time that he couldn't even remember that he called Satyajit Ray by his nickname Manikda. He didn't remember that. So Deep was over there, and he reminded him of about the thing that you called Satyajit Ray by his nickname. Then he said, oh, "Okay, yeah." So he was so fragile. He was so ailing, but till then, we just after I think just 2.5 months after we shot over there, he passed away. But he was so interested and enthusiastic about the whole thing. Till then, it was amazing. Actually, I could say that. And so same thing about Ranan Babu. He gave us a lot of information. But actually, Audrey Babu couldn't give us a lot of information, but he forgot everything. His memory was decaying. But Ranan Babu gave us a lot of information. We had a very lovely chit chat. Apart from shooting, we had a very lovely chit chat over his place. And about Shondip Rai, it was amazing because he was. We didn't find we were shooting. It was like an adda over one Bishop Lefroy Road. Like he was saying about Satyajit Ray's work over Sandesh and his science fiction work, his Hollywood collaboration with Mike Wilson and the Thief was with the Columbia Pictures, and like that, it was like an adda. So we thoroughly enjoyed, and obviously, beside the enjoyment, there was very enriching experiences also. But yeah, we thoroughly enjoyed the whole shooting process with each and everyone. Not only these three people, actually, each and everyone we interviewed, they all are amazing.
Okay.
As a director, do you find something about this Kalpavigyan, working with Kalpavigyan, which is difficult for you? I mean, this is not any other normal documentary topic that people use to work in Bengal. It's a very unusual topic, working on Kalpavigyan. So you find something which is difficult for you, or you got whirled up, like you couldn't do it, you wanted to do something for the documentary?
No, I did actually first off at the very beginning. Yeah, it was a bit difficult because I am I am not an, what could I say? I am not an researcher or archivist and nothing like that. I am just a reader. Okay, so at the very beginning, it was a bit difficult because but. There was Bodhisattva who continuously who was giving continuously his thoughts and research papers. There was Kalpabiswa who was continuously giving us about the archival material. So gradually it became very easier for me to grab all these things into my grip. So it was not so very difficult at the end, which it was at the very beginning. So this is it.
Shantu, do you have any question?
Yeah, I have a question for Bodhi. So this documentary is a great step to preserve the Bengali science fiction culture. So do you have anything next in mind?
For Kalpavigyan or science fiction more generally?
For Bengali science fiction.
Well, I don't have anything particular in mind. I think it's you know the way to to mention Ranan Babu again. So in one of the interview situations, is asked, like, what is the future of Bangla Kalpavigyan? And he says, it's Darun, it's fantastic, right? So that's how he sees the future of Bangla Kalpavigyan, and obviously a lot of it is because of the work that is being done by Kalpabiswa, and there's a whole reader community now who are very invested in Kalpavigyan. So my thoughts on it is, So my own work has moved quite far away from Kalpavigyan, personally. More and more working on different kinds of patterns that are happening around the world in science fiction. And I think that what is happening in Bangla Kalpavigyan is very much in tune and in sync with what is happening in the rest of the world. And this is really important to note, because for a very long time, and this is some of the research that we've been doing in the co-futures group, trying to understand similar movements happening in Brazil, in China, in Africa. So there's a lot of new kinds of work, new kinds of science fiction, futurisms, future fiction, all of this being written and produced. So so what's happening with Kalpabiswa? I think in the movie we also have this little situation where Shondipan says, that this is kind of like what is happening in China, for instance, has really influenced what is happening in Bengal as well. The success of Xi Jinlu's three body trilogy, right? So to think not in terms of like what is the future of Bangla Kalpavigyan, but to think of what is the future of Kalpavigyan as a whole around the world, right? So not think of Kalpavigyan as a Bengali genre, Kalpavigyan as a global genre, right? So I think one of the things that we have been able to do, and again the credit goes to the fantastic way the story is put together by Arunava, is is to make some of those connections visible, right? So what the next step would be, it's going to be very bright, but and it is already very bright, but I think making those connections visible has been absolutely critical at this point of time, in the history of Indian SF, in the history of Bangla SF, in the history of global genres, really. So I'm really excited about what the future will bring. But thank you.
Yeah, we have some actual. I can see in the chat there are some even scholars who want to work with Bengali science fiction. They contacted me and they're watching the stream right now. So I think, yeah, that's a thing that people will watch this documentary and they will know that science fiction or Kalpabigyan, we have worked on it and there are lots of stuff to work on. So that will be a great thing. I think because we all know that the data is not very much accessible in Bengali Kalpabigyan. So one of this kind of data you have created for everyone to work with. So that's a very good thing, I think. And I will go back to Arunava. And Arunava, so you have interviewed some of those maestros of Bangla Kalpabigyan from older years, and some of the very recent years like Shoham or even Shumidda. Though Shumidda is quite a veteran, but he started writing science fiction very uh, not
Recently.
years
Yeah.
back. So, have you found any difference between their views during your documentary, like Ronen Babu or Dishbardhan Enaki Chattopadhyay, or those people, and any difference from them with even I think Ovigyan Rai Chaudhuri, Onis Dev, and Shoham, and the younger brigade. So, is there any differences and views that you found during your interview?
The views? No, actually, I didn't find any difference, huge difference in their views. More or less, they are saying the. Actually, we asked a very question, a particular question to everyone. যে কল্পবিজ্ঞান আপনার কাছে কি কল্পনা বিজ্ঞান না কল্পনার বিজ্ঞান? So they all actually they answered this question in a obviously in their different way, but main gist is that came out from the interviews, that everybody said that a science fiction story has to be a story first, not a science based any thesis paper kind of a thing. So it has to be a story first, but it not just any random experiment or scientific formula kind of thing, but it has to be it should contain the problems or the present situation of the society, or what could happen in future in a scientific way, but there should be a story first which might which should in India entertain the readers. They all are actually saying that. Specifically, I could say about Ronan Babu, he was so rigid about this thing, and of Enaki Chattopadhyay, she also said these kind of thing. So yeah, in this regarding this, they all are actually saying same thing, more or less.
And another thing is, you have interviewed so many people. I think, how many people did you interview? Do you remember?
I think 17 or 18. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Just the authors, or your authors, scholars, and
Or including authors and scholars.
including.
I interviewed or 17 or yeah.
So, you have already talked about Addish Vardhan. So, anything
Yeah.
else that stands out that influenced your work? Someone's interview. Ronan Ghosh is also someone. Oh, and I actually forgot about Anish Dev. He also passed away.
Yeah. He was so friendly and jovial in that session that we couldn't even believe that he is no more today.
Yeah, that was a great loss. I mean, all four of them are equally
Yeah.
important for us. Yeah. So, come to that. Do you, if you could have interviewed anyone else who is not with us today, like from the past, if you had a time machine, so whom would you interview in Bangla Kalpavigyan universe? Whom you are going to interview if you have a time machine? And
If
what
I
will
have
be
a time machine, what will be?
your questions? There must be some like special questions when you are going to interview someone with a time machine. It shouldn't
I
be
would have
complicated,
taken.
right?
If I have a time machine, I would have taken interview of Siddhartha Ghosh. I could say,
Okay.
because he was so. Though his work is momentary in Bangla Kalpavigyan, but he did a huge to this genre in Bangla Kalpavigyan, who could write a Mahakasher Monimukto kind of a story, or in with science fiction, and blend child trafficking in such a way. Uh, he was exceptional, I think. And about the questions, I actually wouldn't ask any question to him, because I would say যে আপনি বলুন যা বলার, man. I could say sit and just listen to him. He was so great. I could say that even the word great will fall short for him, I think.
And what about you, Bodhi, if you had the chance?
Oh, Premendra Mitra, for sure.
I know.
I mean, who doesn't love Ghanada? I would also be very interested to, if I had questions to ask, I would be very curious to know about his his transition really, because when one looks at a lot of like his early work, right, they're very much in the tradition of pulp SF. They're very much pulp SF. They're like the 1920s 30s, you know, amazing stories kind of work that he's writing. But with Ghanada is so unique as a character, and he's and the works are really, you know, they're not just science fiction. There's science fiction, there's historical fiction, there's many different kinds of genres rolled into Ghanada. So that would be my question, like, you know, why this transition, you know, moving from pulp to somebody who's Ghanada stories are really sophisticated stories. So, you know, so I would have liked to know more about his creative process, really, and how he moved there. But you know, but to add to that question, you know, there were many other people that we could have interviewed and would have liked to interview as well, but due to constraints of time, location, you know, we got in touch with people, but we couldn't make it work. So so that was sad. The other thing that would be very, very interesting, you know, and it could be something that Kalpabiswa might want to do, would be to run an interview series with the contemporary writers, the writers who are writing right now, you know, because there's so many writers who are writing in Kalpabiswa, right? And a lot of these voices are not really captured in the documentary, because the documentary is trying to do kind of this overview sweep of the genre. But more specific interviews with contemporary authors in Bangladesh. If you mentioned Shoham, for instance, who's writing, who's now, you know, an internationally renowned writer, right? He's writing all these stories. I think his story went to the moon or something, no, or something like that. So that kind of you know, we need to know more about what's happening. So it could be a good idea to interview current writers, contemporary writers, you know, one-on-one interviews, and just put it on the website and things like that. Not just text interviews, but digital interviews. That would be my hope, really.
Yeah, we actually took many interviews. I think at least 10 to 15 interviews of current writers we have already published in our website. But yeah, like some more recent writers need our attention now. I guess so. That's true.
And also video interviews. I mean, video is such
Yeah.
an interesting format, not just using the text form, which is very much the Kalpabiswa form, but also video interviews. That would be really cool.
Yes.
That's my sense anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. Shantu, do you have any question?
No, I think no.
Okay. Okay. So, Bodhi, just a bit of sidetrack. Can you just tell us what you are guys doing in CoFuture? I think some of our viewers will be very much interested. The wonderful works you are doing there.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, CoFutures is such a large project with so many different things that are going on. It's sometimes hard to keep track of of everything, even though I'm sitting there as the top admin to just manage this. But we have research going on in you know, as I mentioned. So we have research ongoing in Brazilian Afrofuturism, for instance, you know, and what's happening with the genre overall in Latin America. We have similar projects happening. We have some archival projects as well happening on Norwegian science fiction. So we are also doing all these, like conducting all these interviews and things like that with Norwegian science fiction authors, which also actually Norwegian SF also had this big wave around the 60s, 70s with all the magazines and so on. So we have, so I have personally digitized a lot of these fanzines. And we are conducting interviews with these some of these authors who are really old now. Other team members are interviewing people in Norway, in China, they're going to conduct interviews in Middle East. So just you know, just to get a sense of the field, because it's such an evolving, emergent field. So that's what CoFutures is really trying to get to. So that's some of the research that we are doing in CoFutures. We are also doing a lot of research in other things. We are so we are going to run a workshop later this month, actually, with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR, on on building better futures and things like that. So there's a lot of different things that are really gathering around this project. So I will so keep a watch on our website cofutures.org, because there's going to be a lot more. We're just very much now putting things together, for public release. So a lot of things I can't reveal right now, but they will be out very, very soon. So yeah. Deep, you're muted. Deep, you're muted.
Deep, my mic on koro, mute kora.
Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, we have the obvious question from our guest viewers. So what is the update about it? We all want to know. Bodhi, it's ball is on your court. When we are going to see it.
Sure. I can take this one. So the long and short of it is that we have tried several times to show it in Kolkata, and Arunava knows all the story here, and he can probably go on and on. We have tried several times, but because I think COVID has been really made things really difficult for us. For instance, we could even have a screening at Jadavpur University, right? If everything is open, even if we don't go to any big hall, we can just show it in Jadavpur, where so much of the footage is shot and so on. So the short answer, so that's a long answer, we don't know. The short answer is that it's coming soon, and that's but in the meantime, there's the trailer. We also plan to release the movie eventually open access, so that it will be just available for anybody to watch anytime. Yeah, I think it's going to yeah, as I say, it's going to 10 film festivals, and we have tried. Arunava, we did have a showing in Kolkata, right? No, it was in an online film festival, I think.
Yeah, Calcutta Cultural Festival.
Yeah, or it's going to be like shown like if the thing opens up next year or something like that. But yeah, it's gone to Australia, it's gone to New York, Brazil, China. One other thing about CoFuture, since you asked, is we have had subtitles for this film in so many languages, which has been absolutely critical for us, for also having this movie go to so many different parts of the world. So we've had subtitles in Portuguese, in Chinese, in Arabic, and Norwegian. So we have all these different languages in which to share this story. So that's also been one of the good things that CoFutures has been able to do, I think, for promoting the film and our story, all, not just my story, all of ours in Kalpabiswa, in Kalpavigyan community generally. So yeah, but Arunava might have other ideas here on when we can show this and how.
No, actually, no. I tried. I think at least 4 to 5 halls for showcasing of it. But then, as Bodhi said, the COVID came, and the election came, and everything get stopped. So yeah, we are trying to. We are actually waiting for everything to open, the halls and the universities. We could make a showcasing program in Jadavpur University or even any other hall if they get open. So yeah, but we are the film is as the film is going to several festivals right now. So on in any online public screening, it can't be happen because of the regulations of the festivals. So, but yeah, I think in a beginning of the next year, we could manage for a show to show it to the public.
Even some show in Calcutta, like in a virtual show, online film festival, which can happen in
Yeah,
Calcutta.
that could
Some
be
interested people
that.
can watch it then.
Yeah, the online screening that could be happen after the festival season will get over. But before that, any online, we are restricted to show the film online.
Okay. Yeah.
So this is the problem.
Yeah.
So we have to wait.
Yeah. So, do any of the viewers have any question? Please, we are open to questions, or otherwise we'll wrap up this session. I guess there is no more
I
questions.
think there is no questions.
Okay. So thank you, Arunava.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bodhisattva. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
It has been a wonderful afternoon and very, very interesting session. We'll see each other later. I think we'll end this broadcast for now. And thanks for all the viewers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.